Bodkin, Keeper of the Marsh by Nick Hesketh. Bodkin, Keeper of the Marsh, lived in a small cave hidden in the side of a hill. He was very old and had lived there, on the banks of the marsh, all his life. Every day, whatever the weather, Bodkin was out tending the marsh and looking after the animals. On fine days, there was nothing he liked better than to sit in the sun and talk to his friends. However, there was one thing Bodkin hated about his home: the litter. As the years went by, it got steadily worse. One morning, he was awakened by a loud grumbling noise. A lorry was perched at the edge of the marsh, its back loader slowly lifting. Bodkin watched in horror as a heap of tangled rubbish slid off and splashed into the water below. As the lorry drove away, he ran to inspect the damage. An awful smell filled the air. Several large rusty drums had burst, and a poisonous-looking liquid was leaking into the marsh. Bodkin climbed to the top of the pile and called the animals together. "Friends," he cried, "we have to leave." The animals knew he was right. Disaster! Their home was now too dangerous to live in. Waiting for him to pack, they gathered around his doorstep. Bodkin took a sad, final look around his old home. "Ready?" he asked as he joined the animals. They nodded. The long journey began. Bodkin was taking them to the only other marsh he knew. But it was close to a city. Would it still be clean? His hopes fell as he led his friends across the countryside. There was litter everywhere. There were many days of hard travelling. Finally, they reached the last hill. Bodkin carefully parted the grass and looked down. There lay the marsh. But it was full of litter, people, and lorries. "What shall we do?" cried the animals. "We can't live here, and we can't go home." Poor Bodkin. Then, as he watched, one of the lorries drove off. It was filled with rubbish. Puzzled, Bodkin carefully studied the marsh. "Don't you see? People don't like the mess any more than we do. They're clearing it up. Friends," he announced, "I do believe we have found our new home." Bodkin was right. The animals danced and cheered. Under the light of the setting sun, the last lorry rumbled away. The marsh lay invitingly clean and quiet. Bodkin turned to the animals. "Come on," he shouted. Down the hill they raced. Their new marsh was now a safe home, and as far as I know, they are living there still.
Well, boys and girls, that was Bodkin, Keeper of the Marsh. I hope you enjoyed it. I wrote it many, many years ago, and since it was written, the world seems to have got messier and messier and messier. So, how's about always remember, recycle and use the bin? Thank you very much.